My mom and I had a falling out shortly before the holidays over two things that she thinks I need, and they are great things, but I wish she and the rest of society would see that there's life outside of those two things. I'll let you pause the video to think about what they are. The first thing she complained about when we talked just before the holidays was that I had lost a lot of weight over the last 2 years during the pandemic. And she's worried for me not only because of my weight loss, but I think more importantly, she thinks that I'm lonely and I'm already missing out from all the things that I couldn't do during the pandemic. And she said, and you're going to give up the only other pleasure you have in life, which was not true. I let her say it, but it's not true. And this is where she and I strongly disagree, and unfortunately a lot of people need to wake up from, is that there's a big world outside of food, and so unfortunately a lot of people have a hard time understanding that. Oftentimes, I'm recording this in April of 2022, oftentimes I'll hear people complain about high gas prices right now, and meanwhile they're chugging away at a $10 fast food meal, and they don't see the disconnect there. And sometimes, depending on who I'm talking to, they're shoving away at McDonald's, right, and complaining about how much they just paid for gas this morning. I'll stare at their McDonald's and see if they make the connection. If it's a close enough friend, I might even point out, well, how much did you spend on McDonald's? Maybe that's something we could cut back on as well. And unfortunately, a lot of people just don't see that there's a world out there. And so every time I've talked to my mom over this past year, we always get into a shouting match of whether or not there is life outside of food, right? I tell her that someday I hope to be able to stop eating altogether, and how much pleasure I got when I was fasting and I was happy-go-lucky. I had an upsetting situation at work not long ago. I had, obviously I had multiple breakups during the pandemic. Breakups don't usually bother me that much. I've had drama with my workplace. I had a car accident a month ago, and fasting really helped me get it. If I weren't in fasted states most of those times, I don't know how that would have turned out. Could have been institutionalized, I think. But my mom just gets into a shouting match. You know that's impossible to stop eating. No, I don't really know that. I mean, our current understanding is that it is, but it would be great if I could stop eating, right? And she doesn't want to entertain that idea at all. Now, she also doesn't want to entertain the idea of solo sexuality. Every time we talk, we always get into a shouting match of how I need a partner and all that. And, you know, it's upsetting to me to hear that. Not only because it's coming from my mom, but also I want to meet somebody outside of a sexual relationship. It's very difficult to do that. I mused about starting a solo sexual dating website where people who are solo sexual could all join, and we could have meetups that don't involve sex or marriage or any of the, or long-term goals like that. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten I hope to get a cohort of people to start all that together. But I just wish more people would even entertain the idea, right? Even if you're not solo sexual, even if you don't love intermittent fasting, even if you're still consuming a standard American diet, just recognize that there's a life out there, right? Unfortunately, a lot of people also don't recognize that there is life outside of loud, crowded environments. So at my workplace, I often have a hard time asking for vacation time, because the kind of vacations I like to take are very different from the kind of vacations that my peers love to take. And they just say, you can wait, right? Meanwhile, my peers need to go to Las Vegas, New Orleans, New York, the top vacation destinations, right? My choice to go to Gdansk Bay, Poland, go to the Computer Olympiad Conference, go stargazing, that can wait, right? They can't relate to that, right? But there is life outside of that. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with any of these things that I talked about. In fact, I've been trying to get over my fear of loud, crowded environments. It's just not my cup of tea. I can handle it now compared to where I was 2 years ago. But there are other things that I love to be doing, and there's a whole world outside of it. Please acknowledge that, right? Even if you don't love it, right? All right, anybody who wants to join me to create a solo sexual dating website, feel free to leave a comment. Thanks for watching.